Welcome, everyone. I am less Manley, but when I'm known as Sarah Thompson, I'm the Western Labrador representative for the Writers Alliance Board of Directors. We're marking Pride Week with a series of kid-friendly readings presented by the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador and Raise Up Fundraising. For anyone not familiar with the Alliance, we are a nonprofit organization working to support and inspire writers at all levels and stages of their careers in the province. For more information on our programs and services, please go to WANL.ca, WANL.ca, or check us out on social media. During Pride, it is important to remember how fortunate we are to be able to live our lives as our most authentic selves, and that there are still many places where people can't. We take this time not only to raise a flag and gather to celebrate the strides we have made as a community, but also to remember and celebrate those that marched and sacrificed so it could be possible for us. We're so happy to present this event to inspire a love of reading in youth, but also present a deeper lesson of diversity and acceptance and offer children positive and unabashedly queer role models. Drag Storytime is collecting on behalf of Raise Up Fundraising, supporting initiative fundraising events and projects to marginalized persons and groups in Newfoundland and Labrador. If you're able, please consider giving a donation to this amazing organization. On behalf of the board, staff, and members of the association, I would like to wish you all a happy Pride. We hope you enjoy the readings.
Hi everyone, I'm Megan, a board member with Raise Up Fundraising, and we're a local nonprofit that raises funds for organizations that support marginalized folks in Newfoundland and Labrador. For this year's St. John's Pride Week, we're happy to announce that we've developed a partnership with the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador to bring you 4 virtual family-friendly drag story times. These drag story times feature the talents of local artists and drag performers, and we would like to sincerely thank them for their participation, as well as the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador. We hope you enjoy.
Hi friends, my name is Miss Agnosed, but you can just call me Miss Di. I'm here today to read you a story, so why don't you grab your favorite blanket and your best stuffed toy and find a cozy place to listen. Agnes Ayre's ABCs of Amazing Women, Newfoundland and Labrador Women of Note, some of whom won us the vote, by Jenny Higgins, illustrated by Jennifer Morgan. And thank you to Boulder Books for allowing us the chance to learn from this book today. This is the introduction. Agnes Ayre here. Welcome to my Book of Women. I wrote it to honor all of my friends and heroes who accomplished so much in their lifetimes. All of the women you will meet in these pages achieved amazing things, like Anne Harvey, who saved people from a shipwreck, or Georgina Ann Sterling, who became a world-famous opera singer. But can you imagine what happened when a group of these astounding women decided to work together? They accomplished something truly special. And do you know what else? I was lucky enough to be in that group. You'll learn all about it in a little while, but first, I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. A is for Agnes Ayre. I was born in 1890 in St. John's. When I grew up, I became a botanist. That means I studied plants. I was also an artist. I decided to combine my 2 passions. I traveled around the island of Newfoundland collecting flowers and painting pictures of them. I even wrote and illustrated a book called Wild Flowers of Newfoundland. I accomplished a lot, but there was something I couldn't do. I couldn't always vote in elections. That's because I lived before women had the right to vote. I thought it was wrong that I couldn't elect the politicians who created the laws that affected my life. Then I had an idea. Maybe I could change the rules. Fortunately, I wasn't alone. A group of other people who wanted women to vote. They were called suffragettes. I joined their group and became a suffragette too. We worked together to achieve our grand goal. Keep reading to find out what happened. B is for Adeline Browning. My friend Adeline Browning, who also became a suffragette. You will meet many more suffragettes in this book. Like me, Adeline Browning was interested in many different things. One of them was music. She was a talented singer and conductor, and she founded the St. John's Ladies Orchestra in the 1890s. The group played beautiful music and received many standing ovations. Adeline also loved sports. She was a golfer and a curler. In 1905, she helped to create the Ladies Avalon Curling Club. One of Adeline's greatest passions was medicine. During World War I, she saw that soldiers and sailors were becoming sick with tuberculosis. She decided to help. Adeline arranged for a wounded soldier, Philip Jensen, to tour the island telling his war stories. In 1916, she used the money Philip had raised to open a tuberculosis hospital for military men. It was named Jensen Camp in Philip's honor. It took a lot of determination to raise enough money to open Jensen Camp, but Adeline rose to the challenge. Her great idea and hard work saved a lot of lives. In 1918, King George V recognized Adeline's remarkable achievement by awarding her the Order of the British Empire. I am so proud of my good friend Adeline Browning. C is for Dorothy Cherry. Dorothy Cherry also saved lives. She was a nurse. In 1929, she left her home in England and moved to Newfoundland. She settled in the town of Lameline on the Burin Peninsula. Not long after Nurse Cherry arrived, a tsunami struck the Burin Peninsula. On November 18, 1929, 3 giant ocean waves crashed over the peninsula and swept people's homes and food out to sea. It was almost wintertime, and people were cold and wet without their houses. They got sick. Making matters even worse, the peninsula couldn't contact the outside world for help because its telegraph wires were damaged. There were no telephones and computers, so people had to use the telegraph to send messages to each other. Nurse Cherry realized that her medical knowledge could save lives. She sprang into action. For 6 days and nights, she traveled around the peninsula on foot and on horseback, treating the ill and the injured. Finally, the rescue ship arrived on November 24th and picked up Nurse Cherry, Dr. H.M. Modsdell, who was on board and impressed by Nurse Cherry's bravery, hard work, and heroism. This is what he wrote. It must have been a superhuman effort for Nurse Cherry to make her way on foot all through the stricken area of Lameline to Lawn, a distance of 20 miles. She was found in a state of collapse after her strenuous and self-sacrificing efforts. Hooray for the courageous Nurse Cherry! D is for Margaret Dooley. Margaret Dooley was a distinguished writer. In fact, she was the first novelist from Newfoundland and Labrador who had an international audience. Her books were published in London, Toronto, New York, and Sweden. Her readers loved her, and so did the critics. She received excellent reviews from the Times Literary Supplement and the New York Times Book Review. Her 4 novels are The Eyes of the Gull, published in 1936, Cold Pastoral, 1939, Highway to Valor, 1941, and Novelty on Earth, 1942. She also wrote a non-fiction book in 1949 called The Caribou Hut. It was about an inn for soldiers that opened in St. John's during World War II. But long before Margaret started publishing books, she had another goal: to win voting rights for women. That's right, she was part of our growing group of suffragettes. She used her talents to write speeches about why women should have the right to vote. As if that's not enough, Margaret was also a talented public speaker and entertainer. When she was a teenager, she traveled to England to study at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. E is for Elsie Holloway. Elsie Holloway excelled at photography. Elsie learned how to use the camera from her father, Robert. He was a school teacher and a talented photographer who loved to share his interests with his children. Elsie worked hard to develop her skills. When she was 16 years old, she took this photograph of an iceberg near the St. John's Harbour. It was such a good photograph that a magazine in England decided to publish it. The magazine was called Pearson's, and it printed Elsie's photograph in September 1900. Would you like to see the photograph? One year later, Elsie traveled to England to study photography. When she finished her studies, she returned to Newfoundland and opened a photography studio in downtown St. John's with her brother Bert. They named it Holloway Studio. Bert specialized in landscape photography and Elsie specialized in portraits. She especially loved to take photographs of soldiers, children, and Newfoundland dogs. When World War I broke out, Bert left Newfoundland to fight in Europe. Tragedy struck in 1917, and he was killed in battle. Elsie mourned the loss of her brother, but she also had to keep her photography studio open. She continued to take photographs, and she was very good at it. Soon everyone wanted Elsie Holloway to take their photograph. She became so popular that she had to hire 12 people to help her with all of her work. Elsie continued to run Holloway's studio until she retired in 1946. She was 64 years old. What a long and successful career. F is for Frannie McNeill. Frannie McNeill was one of the most famous suffragettes in all of Newfoundland. She was witty and charming, and she gave really good speeches. Everyone loved to hear her talk. She had fascinating ideas, and she told funny jokes. I even worked as her assistant in the suffragette movement. We became great friends. I accompanied her to meetings with politicians and other important people. Not all of the people we spoke with wanted women to have the vote, but that didn't intimidate Frannie. She wrote about her determination in this article for the Evening Telegram in October 1924. The vote will never be handed to us like sugared cakes with a "help yourself, madame." One of our own politicians said, "Yes, of course you should have the right to vote, but you'll have to fight for it." If we really wish to have better conditions, we must help to make them so. Inspiring words, don't you think? Frannie had other interests too, but one of them was art. That's another passion we both shared. In 1925, Frannie and I worked together to create the Newfoundland Society of Art. Frannie even served as one of its first presidents. What a busy and fascinating woman. Well, friends, it seems like we're out of time for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me to read this story and to celebrate Pride. I want to take a quick second to thank Rise Up and the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland for the opportunity, and also to thank Jenny Higgins for allowing us to read her book, Agnes Ayre's ABCs of Amazing Women, illustrated by Jennifer Morgan, and the publishing house, Boulder Books. Have a great day, friends. Bye.